Man, I I individually, my take on things is that parental rights have gone off the rails. Um, I just want to say this. I feel that, parents ought to have some rights over how they raise their child. I just think that there ought to be limits. There has to be a red line that we don't let people cross. There have to be restraints on how you're allowed to raise your child. There are certain things that you shouldn't be able to do to a child, like, molest them as their parent. You shouldn't be able to allowed to engage in incest with your own child. I mean, like, you shouldn't be allowed to hit your own kid and physically abuse them. You shouldn't be allowed to keep the child if you're, incapacitated and on a million, drugs and are a drug user, and, keep your crack baby in that kind of situation. So, and where I feel that things have kind of gone too far on this issue is just that, we have a country where, parents in this place are, the we have statutory rape laws, for instance, and there are loopholes where if you can get parents to sign off on it, that you can literally have this loophole where you just marry the girl that was too young and underage that you did the deed with. I mean, it's a messed up country. I've read about cases where these girls were literally told that no, they weren't told anything. They were literally sold off for a carton of beer by their parents, who were willing to sign the documents just to get drunk. We live in that kind of cesspool of a situation. I mean, something clearly needs to change about all of this. I mean, I've been doing the real feminist work for a while now. I've been trying to, agitate and fight these kinds of things, and so it's like I'm off with a letter to my state representative that we don't actually have parental notification laws. Let's keep it that way. But this is a complicated issue. I mean, you're gonna ask me, like, the people are going to be like, but I feel that the parents should be notified. And I'm just like, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying I don't think the state should be in the business of legally compelling the issue of, notifying a parent in the case of their child seeking an abortion. Like, and I'm not saying that because I have any nefarious intentions, other than, I grew up with a mom. I grew up on tales. Eventually, she told us when we got older that he literally molested her, that she ran away because of the fact that he couldn't keep his hands to himself. And, I grew up knowing all this kind of stuff had happened to her, and she had been victimized by all these kinds of things. And so I now have to think about, the parental notification laws. I read Helena Silverstein's book, Girls on the Stand, in particular, and it goes into some really, really terrible details about the judicial bypass process that has been set up in states for, incest and abuse. And it talks about the compromise that, pro-choice activists had to come to with the other side of the aisle. But it's just like, if you go into it, you find that there are judges asking these girls if, they know that God wants them to have the child, and you're just sitting there like thinking, objection, facts not in evidence. And, if you want clarification, this to the standard of evidence of this courtroom, God's existence has not been proven. I mean, so how can a deity that we don't know exist want anything? You know, like, you're assuming facts not in evidence, and it's a judge that's doing it in this situation. So it just, and if he tries to overrule, I'm just gonna kind of be like, well, then I'm gonna report you for judicial misconduct. You shouldn't be asking these questions in the first place. So the reality of all of it, and reading Helena Silverstein's book kind of dismantled all these notions that the court system is the proper avenue to deal with an exception. In this case, we've come to a bad compromise on the issue. And so it's like I've been fighting parental notification laws in the state for quite a while now. I mean, I'm on the record with my state representative about the issue. I've been saying, please don't bring this kind of legislation here because I hate this. I hate that I have to offer like some sort of argument here, but it's just like we don't need to be forcing these girls to notify their parents. I mean, I don't see the issue. I don't like if I were 15, if I were in her shoes and I got knocked up and I were a girl, I mean, I would want to reach out to my mom and dad because I would need support. I would know how life altering that kind of decision, that kind of thing would be for my life. I would know that it would be a huge issue. And so it's like my parents aren't that abusive, so maybe I'll reach out to like my mom on the issue. Like I would do it naturally, and it's like I don't understand why a 15-year-old girl in that kind of situation wouldn't reach out to her parents unless she was concerned that they were going to hit her, kick the crap out of her, or they were the fucking parent in this situation. So, you know, do I feel that the state should be literally compelling, you know, teenage girls or their medical providers to notify their parents if they seek an elective abortion? No, I really don't. I don't think that. I think that this is really just ultimately a law that's in search of a problem that doesn't really exist, because at the end of the day, anybody that gets knocked up in that kind of situation is going to want for their parents' support in that kind of boat. And so it's like if they don't reach out to them, you're probably dealing with somebody that is being abused by her parent and doesn't feel safe making that confession because she knows that he will assault her and kick the living crap out of her. Like, do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's like you don't need the law to force the issue, because things, if they take their natural course, will almost invariably be that these girls will reach out naturally anyways. So why do we need a law to force the issue? Like that's that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that the parents shouldn't be notified. I'm just saying that unfortunately not every parent deserves to be a parent in the first place. So because of that horrible reality, we shouldn't have these terrible laws on the books, because it, it's an overly broad application of things. And we should just let nature take its course, because at the end of the day, if they feel safe reaching out for support, they're going to reach out for support anyways. So why set up a law that costs the state money to deal with the judicial bypass process? Why put them through that kind of hassle and make them jump through a bunch of hoops just to get an exception, when really we should just let I mean, I know that this is such a controversial take, but it's like, why don't we just let them have the goddamn abortion without notifying their parent? I mean, why do we have to do this? Because if you set up a law, right, to do it, all the girls that can talk to their parents about the issue are going to anyways. The ones that don't feel safe doing it. I mean, if your child isn't talking to you about that kind of thing, if they're not reaching out, if they don't feel safe talking to you about that, that is an issue with you. You've caused that problem. And it's like parental rights have gone a bit too far in the United States. There has to be some limits on them. There have to be red lines and things that you're not allowed to do to your own child, and it's just really unfortunate. So, I mean, I guess all this is just to say that the bill that the Republicans walked out on, I'm not against it, and I really I genuinely feel this way, and I'm kind of pissed off because it's like, why are we treating these girls as if, just being a teenager makes you a secretive fuck? I went through teenage years, and yeah, there's a lot that I didn't tell my parents, but if I got in trouble, if I got myself, fucked over in such a way where I needed help, I would naturally reach out for help, just like every girl that feels safe talking to her parent will reach out. Gee, I really fucked myself over and got pregnant. You know what I mean?